Good morning, Saturday 21st of March. Over the last couple of days you get an awful lot of stuff on Facebook and internet, and a friend of mine, Chelsea from Scotland, sent me a great picture, and it shows a freezer empty of food and huge stacks of alcohol. It says indeed, "Welcome to Scotland, where you can't buy food but you can drink yourself silly." A lot of stuff going out there and a crazy time, very surreal. Today we get our story that takes us through Jesus and the turning of water into wine. Jesus has got some disciples now and they're beginning to follow him, follow the Lamb, and they're invited to a wedding along with Jesus' mother. When they get there, this has been a time where the father of the bride would have saved up and gathered all the alcohol that he could, all the wine that he could, and this is going to be a great celebration, but they ran out of wine, and Jesus is drawn into the situation, and his mother says, "Do to the servants, do what he says," and Jesus turns water into the best and the vintage wine that he makes. There's so many levels going on within this story for us to understand and think. John specifically chooses signs, and this is the first of the signs. At the end of John's Gospel, he actually says the whole world would not have room for the books that could be written, but he's just chosen 7 signs so that we may believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of God, and by believing and keeping on believing, we may have life in his name. So on one level, there's this miracle which declares his glory, it says at the end of the story. Jesus did this first sign to which he revealed his glory, and his disciples believed in him. And that sense of glory is that sense of wonder and heaviness. You could define it in this way. It's something that lifts our heads to see the character of God and leads us to awe, wonder and worship. And that's what happens. He reveals his glory and they begin to believe in him. But there's another level going on here as well. John is fascinated by this truth, as we get to in John 15, that Jesus is the true vine. And all that happens in this miracle is really Jesus just speeds up something he does every day in creation, where the rain comes down and goes through the vine and grapes and wine are produced. Jesus is the true vine. He speeds up the process in an instant and water is turned into wine. Isn't that amazing? And not just wine, it's the best wine. Jesus is interested in quality. We often reflect that wine has that symbol of joy. And it's true, actually, in John 15, when Jesus is called the true vine, he actually is referred to, or he says these words, "I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and your joy may be complete." It's fantastic to see that Jesus is interested in our joy deep within our hearts and our souls. In the midst of struggling, battling, difficult circumstances, we can know his joy within our lives. So here, before I go, there's one little sneaky one I want you to think about. John's Gospel starts as, "In the beginning was the Word." Genesis starts in the beginning. John has got Genesis in mind here. But it's something interesting, isn't it? Jesus is there in his first miracle at a wedding. In Genesis chapter 2, God brings a man and woman together in a wedding. Jesus brings joy in all circumstances, particularly in the joy of marriage within lives. Remember those who have weddings postponed because of coronavirus. But let's think that takeaway again. Joy giver. Jesus is the joy giver. Seek his joy in your life and also share that joy within your life, in your life and through your life. Tomorrow, we're going to think about the second part of John's Gospel. Every blessing.